Hello and welcome back to another Many Interpretations of video. As you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, this is quite a bit different from the usual ones we do. See, in my previous Many Interpretations of videos, there are some media iterations of these creatures that I leave out for one reason or another. But of course, there were some popular inclusions that I did leave on the cutting room floor that were requested quite a bit. So I figured that I would do something a little bit different this time around and just include all of those ones that I didn't include in my previous videos. I have them all pulled up here. Basically, the most requested ones I'm taking a look at and just compiling in this huge video right here. Because of course, they are very popular to a lot of different people because they were brought up quite a bit in previous comment sections. So I figured we could do that. Of course, we will be going back to the regular Many Interpretations of videos after this. Like, I will be uploading or posting another poll to have you guys vote for the next creature, and it'll be back to business as usual. But right now, we're going to do a little bit of cleaning up, I guess. I got them pulled up. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, of course, the first ever Many Interpretations of video, or a few videos, because I didn't expect this to be too popular, so I had to add parts, was the Spinosaurus. And there were some that I did leave out, of course, starting off with Scorn, which is a Transformer Spinosaurus, which is definitely the coolest thing ever. Now, in terms of design, we got two to basically look at. We have his Spinosaurus form, which actually looks fantastic. I honestly, I love it. It's got kind of three spiked sails, as well as the really gnarly teeth that are just so menacing to look at, covered in spikes, with these huge, massive claws. The metallic look of it is fantastic, and then it has the kind of mech version, the regular version that kind of has a whip as for an arm. Again, very spiky and things like that, very medieval in its appearance, and it's really cool. It's certainly a design that stands out from most of the other media interpretations that we see. There's also a red one that I see. I don't really know if this one is from anything. It might just be a variation of the Age of Extinction Scorn, just with red coloration, because as far as I know, I don't think there's any other versions of Scorn in any other Transformers projects. Be sure to let me know if I'm wrong about that, though, because I'm not necessarily the most avid watcher of Transformers. I've seen some movies. I did see Age of Extinction when it came out, and I remember noting that there was a Spinosaurus Transformer, which back then I thought it was extremely cool, and I still think it's extremely cool now. But we spent too much time on Scorn. Now we need to move on, and one of my wife's and my favorite shows, and that's The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. There's this one episode where they go back in time and Goofy gets left back in time, and that causes a ripple effect which makes Goofy dinosaurs, and by extension a Goofy Spinosaurus. And this is the funnest thing ever. Goofy's my favorite character when it comes to those little projects, and so Spinosaurus with a Goofy head is both horrifying and fascinating at the same time. It has its sail, it has a green coloration. There's not much else that can be said. I like how it even possesses the same hat and the Goofy teeth and the Goofy nose. It's what did Goofy do to cause this much of a ripple effect through time? There's a lot of questions there, but it's definitely a fun addition, and one that I really wish I didn't leave out because, man, love it. But next up, we have another animated show, and that's from Teen Titans. Now, Teen Titans is a show that I've watched a little bit. I haven't watched it in its entirety, so I had no idea that there was a point where Beast Boy kind of fights an evil version of himself, and Beast Boy transforms into a T-Rex like he normally does, but this other Beast Boy transforms into a Spinosaurus, and it's got a really cool design. It's got white coloration with kind of black spots here and there. The proportions look pretty cool, and it has kind of a little bit of a small sail, which is pretty reminiscent of a crest that we often see Spinosaurus portrayed with, that kind of matches its dorsal sail. It looks really cool, and I think it's so cool that happened in that. Of course, it's another instance of T-Rex fighting Spinosaurus that's very popular in media, and so we can just add this one to the list now. It's fun. It's really fun. And then after that, we have Warpath Jurassic Park. It's a little bit of a Jurassic Park fighting game in the, you know, the same vein as like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all that good stuff. You get to choose your own dinosaur and you get to fight your opponent and whatnot. One of those dinosaurs you get to choose is the Spinosaurus. And the most notable thing I will point out is that how much I like the colors. Of course, it's very small in proportion wise. It's got a very different skull. It's kind of raptor-like in appearance, almost like the spinal raptor of the future. But it is very cool. Again, I really like the colorations of it, and like I wouldn't mind seeing a Spinosaurus with like more so more updated proportions with these colorations, especially in the sail. You know, you got the lighter blue colors that lead into orange kind of colors. It looks really cool. I think it's a very cool color blend for the animal. Sticking to the vein of colors that I think are cool, in Fossil Fighters, the Spinosaurus also has very cool colors and patterns. More in the vein of like kind of brownish, red colors, yellows, orange, blues. It's a pretty cool blend, all things considered, and with a design that's, you know, stylized for the game, so it's like stubbier features and things like that. So I'd say that it remains decently consistent across the board with Fossil Fighters. Also, doing this type of like kind of catch-up video gives me an opportunity to look at the Prehistoric Kingdom Spinosaurus once again, because of course recently they have added Spinosaurus into the game. I've actually been playing it a little bit more recently, not too much because my PC is still having issues, but I've been having so much fun, and Spinosaurus is incredibly awesome, and its design looks fantastic here. There's a few design choices that they gave it, like when it's doing certain animations, it kind of goes on all fours, pretty reminiscent of our old ideas of Spinosaurus back in 2014, where it was more so a quadrupedal animal rather than strictly biped. And it's also portrayed as being a tail dragger a little bit, like the tail kind of, it's, you know, of course it's off the ground, but it kind of like droops down at the back. Now, this isn't necessarily new. I've seen some paleo art portrayals where when Spinosaurus is kind of like lifting up its front portion, its tail goes on the ground, of course, because it had a huge tail. I wouldn't necessarily say this is outside of the realm of possibility because, again, it is a very big tail for the animal. You know, it has that kind of like tadpole, crocodilian-like look to it. So, you know, it's definitely a different design choice for the animal, but all things considered, the skeletal structure looks fantastic. I really like how big those claws are and the different variations you get, like the ones with smoother skin, smoother and, colors to match, as well as the ones that are a little bit more crocodilian with these kind of bumps going down that almost look like osteoderms. Across the board, I think the designs are fantastic. And I seriously, I can't get enough of these ones. But we will stick with the new additions for Prehistoric Kingdom, and of course now talk about the Carcharodontosaurus, because now we're switching from Spinosaurus, our first video, to our second video, Carcharodontosaurus. Carcharodontosaurus was added as well in the same update as Spinosaurus with a beautiful, beautiful design. Like one of the best Carcharodontosaurus designs I've ever seen. The skull shape looks fantastic. It has that very Carcharodontosaurid look to it, and the different patterns or different colorations with the different variations of it look fantastic too. You have one that has some kind of like spots on it, but my favorite one is this one right here, where you get kind of darker colors, but like a red crest. It looks so cool. It looks so cool. I seriously, I couldn't have been getting enough of this update recently. It's been perfect. And Carcharodontosaurus also had an appearance in Warpath Jurassic Park, same as Spinosaurus, with a very interesting design. I wouldn't necessarily say it's my favorite. It's got a pretty small head proportionally for its body, kind of like an upright stance almost. I mean, that pretty much matches with the rest of the theropods in the game, I think. It's a passable design. It's very, very stubby. It doesn't have much of a stomach. It's fine. I could definitely tell what they're going for. I could tell that it's meant to be Carcharodontosaurus. Wow. Now I can definitely tell that I'm tripping on this mouthful of a name, but I could definitely tell that it's Carcharodontosaurus. So, it's a passable design, I think. Next up is one that I wanted to include, but I completely forgot, and that is the Jurassic Park builder, Carcharodontosaurus. I love its design here. I've mentioned before that I miss this game, stubby proportions, all that good stuff. But you get the kind of green coloration, and as you level it up, you get this very, very cool coloration where it's a blue base with like yellow colors, kind of highlighting the fenestrae again, which are those, you know, those holes in the dinosaur skulls. It's a very cool design, and you know, it's definitely a standout, I think, in the Carcharodontosaurus designs. I love it. It's fantastic. But now we will move on to our Dimetrodon video, one that I completely missed. I didn't even realize this was here, but we have from Land of the Lost, the original TV show, where, you know, later the movie was kind of based off of this. Dimetrodon does make an appearance in there as a practical effect, which you love to see. But one cool notable thing to note, I guess, is that it's a fire breather. It breathes fire. It's very interesting. This is probably the only instance you'll ever see Dimetrodon breathe fire, which is so fun. It's also absolutely massive. Like, it is a kaiju of a Dimetrodon. I really like the colors that they have on the sail. It looks really cool, all things considered, and that fire breathing thing definitely sets it apart from other Dimetrodon designs, so that's fun. Next up is, once again, Fossil Fighters. Dimetrodon has an appearance in there with a very different looking design. A lot of times you'll see Dimetrodon with its head kind of pointed downwards like this, a little bit more horizontal to the body. But this one's like, no, I'm holding it up. It's got some cool colors, and it's a very jagged sail. Really not much else I can say about it. It looks interesting. It's an interesting design. And then we have the video of Inostransavia. Now, there weren't really too many comments like requesting ones that I missed, but there was one comment in particular that showed up a lot, and that was from Animal Armageddon. Now, looking into it, it doesn't look like this was meant to be Inostransavia, but I did mention gorgonopsid, you know, which isn't Inostransavia itself. It's related to it. It's in the same family of Gorgonopsidae. And so the same pretty much applies here with Animal Armageddon, where we have a gorgonopsid, which isn't Inostransavia, but might as well, right? It has a very, very unique design. You can definitely see those chompers, very shrink wrapped. Also has like kind of like spiky fur on its shoulder, kind of looking like mane. It's different, you know. It's definitely different. It's got a design. I'll give it that. But now we'll move on to Allosaurus, and there was one media interpretation that I left out that, you know, I definitely shouldn't have, because it showed up a lot, but that was from Dino Crisis 2, and it does have a very cool design here. Blue fits, I think. The lacrimal crest is in the correct position, situated right before the eye, or in front of the eye, however you want to look at it. It has counter shading with the blue on top and the lighter colors on bottom. It looks very cool. I mean, it has a thicker skull than Allosaurus did in life, but again, it's just very cool. It's a very cool design. Dino Crisis is not really a game that I played. I have seen some gameplay footage of it. I didn't know that Allosaurus was in this game. I completely missed that when I was looking through, trying to find all of my things. Once again, it is a very cool design, and I'm a huge fan of it. Honestly, this might be up there in terms of Allosaurus designs to me. Moving on from that, we have Jurassic World Evolution. I left this one out intentionally because I looked at the Fallen Kingdom Allosaurus, which, you know, that was its own design. And in Evolution, when they're portraying dinosaurs that show up in the movies and shows, they'll typically keep them consistent to that. You know, so I didn't really look at the Evolution design for Allosaurus because, again, it was basically the Fallen Kingdom design. But, you know, some commenters brought up a fair point that in Fallen Kingdom, we see kind of like a juvenile Allosaurus, whereas in Evolution, they portray a larger one. And yeah, that's pretty much true. It's a bigger animal in general. It keeps a lot of the same consistency with the design, though. I do think that the lacrimal crests are larger, and it does have some spikes going down its back. Its hands are facing the correct way, though, so that's cool. That's very cool. But it is pretty shrink wrapped, and, you know, all things considered, I think that fits as like a grown version of that Allosaurus that was shown in Fallen Kingdom, because of course we get a complete redesign when Battle at Big Rock shows up later on. So, you know, that's fun. That's fun. And this is one that I didn't know, but Allosaurus makes an appearance in Gravity Falls. It's a very different design. We have more so a brown coloration, very, very thick skull, a lot more reminiscent of maybe Tyrannosaurus Rex from like Land Before Time or something like that. But it does possess the crests, this time above the eyes, and very stylized for the show, which is very fun. And honestly, looking at it, there's a few dinosaurs that have an appearance in this show. I never watched Gravity Falls. I mean, I caught an episode here and there when I was like sleeping on the couch and just watching Disney Channel, but I never actually watched it. This is fun. This is cool. I like it. Moving on to my boy Ceratosaurus, one of my favorite dinosaurs, of course. First up in Fantasia. This one's on me. I made the decision not to include it for some reason, which I probably shouldn't have. But it does definitely have a different design, that kind of old, Disney design, which I absolutely love. It kind of shows up in a situation where the animals are getting trapped in a mud trap, and all of these ceratosaurs kind of like join together to feast on these poor animals. It does look like they're portrayed with lips, which is not very common for theropod dinosaurs. And of course, it has the osteoderms going down. And of course, you can't leave out that prominent nose horn. Very cool design. I love these older designs, especially when they kind of like drag their tails, because it's just so different to what we know about these animals nowadays. And then the Asylum movie, which was Age of Dinosaurs, there was a Ceratosaurus. Now, it doesn't look terrible, all things considered. I mean, like, I really like the colors with the blue and the red. Doesn't really have the lacrimal crests that Ceratosaurus has, but it does have the nose horn. Its wrists are breaking. It's not terrible. It's a pretty good design. I haven't seen this movie personally. I know that it's a lower budget movie, but this Ceratosaurus design, it definitely isn't terrible. I kind of like it, honestly. Not bad. And now moving on to Carnotaurus. Now there's this little project that I didn't know about called Turok, Son of Stone, which has a Carnotaurus design with a very gnarly appearance and looks so cool. It has the horns like Carnotaurus did. I really like the combination of like darker, like almost black colors with red, and that's, shown here. And it has spikes on its back, kind of longer arms than Carnotaurus did have in life. But it's a very cool design. And does definitely fit what that project was going for. Also note that there are some younger Carnotaurs in this with like kind of smaller proportions. They're a bit thinner, and they do possess the horns as well. It's very cool. I love seeing younger versions of the animals. You don't see that too frequently in these projects. This is a very gnarly and cool Carnotaurus appearance. Once again, Carnotaurus was in Fossil Fighters. Stubbier proportions except for the horns. The horns go a little bit more forward and are a little bit longer. It does have the bumps on its back with the blue mixed in with the gray. Here again, sounding like a broken record, it definitely fits the style of Fossil Fighters. And I like those kind of stubbier versions of these animals. They're just, they're really interesting to look at. Swinging back around, we have Age of Dinosaurs once again, the Asylum movie. Unlike the Ceratosaurus, this is not great for Carnotaurus. It's very small, very kind of like raptor-like. Elongated skull, just has the horns. That's the only thing that would really tip you off that this is meant to be Carnotaurus, because it has very long arms too. Very, very different from what Carnotaurus and really any Abellisaurid had. It's covered in spikes and things like that. I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. I liked the Ceratosaurus. I do not like this Carnotaurus. And now I am dedicating a little section to Paleo Pines, because it's one that I've been meaning to include in my videos, because I've known about this project. And I know that a lot of these dinosaurs I've talked about are in this game, but I just kept forgetting for some reason. So now we're just going to go straight through and mention all of the creatures that showed up in Paleo Pines right now, starting, of course, with the Carnotaurus. One thing I like about Paleo Pines is that they definitely make sure that you can recognize what the animal is supposed to be. I can recognize that this is Carnotaurus. The horns are go a little bit more up and are kind of fused together. I mean, of course, in life with Carnotaurus, those horns would have been layered in keratin, so they would have been pretty long compared to what the bone core looks like. I really like Paleo Pines. I like the way that they look. You could tell that this is meant to be Carnotaurus because short arms and everything like that, but kind of like the stylized version of it. It's really fun to see. Same can also be said for the Ceratosaurus. It has the nasal horn, has the the osteoderms going down its back. It does have the lacrimal crests, you know, like Ceratosaurus did. It's a great design also. It's covered in spots. You get a few different color choices with it when you're finding them. They're very cool. That also applies to the Allosaurus. I can tell it's Allosaurus. It has the lacrimal crests. Of course, has the basic theropod build. And once again, you get a few different design. There's a few different colors that go along with it, as well as the Parasaurolophus. The Parasaurolophus I know is like one of the main dinosaurs in the game. It has a very good design. It's primarily quadrupedal, which is true for Parasaurolophus. It has that crest. No complaints at all. But I think the one that stands out the most to me is the Dimetrodon. I think it looks so cool in this game, especially this one. I think that this one's colors, especially in the sail, look really cool. And I really like how that neck kind of droops down a little bit. It just feels right for Dimetrodon. And all things considered, I think is one of my favorites in the entirety of the game. But there we are. That is the majority of the ones that I missed. Again, I don't necessarily like forget about them a lot of the times. A lot of times I just make the choice to leave some out because sometimes I just get kind of repetitive with my dialogue and saying things and things like that. So I try to kind of like trim some of that fat essentially. Sometimes I do forget them. Sometimes I don't know a project exists, of course. I'm probably not going to manage to include every single media interpretation of these animals. I try to include as many as I possibly can. Let me be fair with that. But again, there are some that will be left on the cutting room floor, and every once in a while, maybe I'll just do a video like this to include them and give them a little bit of the spotlight as well. But once again, here pretty soon I will be posting another poll, and we will be voting for the next many interpretations of Creature, and we will be back to business as usual. So that will definitely be fun. But that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have an awesome day.